I certainly see in the future where the entire interview format gonna change. It's gonna be more about sitting together or having an approach by virtue of which the person who's getting assessed is actually going back with certain learnings out of it.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Hired by iimjobs podcast, presented by All Things Talent. I am Akanksha, your host for today. We're kicking off this groundbreaking series by diving deep into the world of hiring, innovation, recruitment, and exceptional talent. And for our premiere episode, we couldn't have asked for a better guest. He is a visionary redefining talent acquisition landscape. He's an innovator, a forward thinker whose fresh perspectives challenge conventional recruitment thinking. I am thrilled and more than honored to welcome Mohit Sharma, Head of Talent Acquisition, KPMG India.
Thank you very much, Akansha. Thanks for having me.
Mohit, we've been talking about technology as the biggest disruptor, but what is, equally, if not more important, is how recruitment is changing beyond automation and AI. We witnessed employer branding at play. We've seen DI do its work. We're seeing how skills are gaining importance over degrees. There is workforce planning and so much more to discuss. And Mohit, you, with your experience in talent acquisition, are sitting on a unique vantage point. You are an industry leader who's shaping talent recruitment strategies from within, and also as an observer who's looking at the market trends. From your perspective, how is the recruitment landscape evolving? And what do you see as the most significant or the biggest shift in the industry today?
No, indeed, Akansha, there's a lot happening in the industry, in the talent acquisition space with Gen AI coming into picture. A lot of technology solutions, interventions has been helping and changing the way we engage, attract, recruit, onboard talent today. But beyond technology intervention, there are some strategic shifts which are either happening or in the phase of happening. And there's where the need for organizations and talent acquisition leaders to really give an attention to. And some of the shifts I could think about, one is engaging, attracting active talent to putting in efforts towards engaging with a wider talent pool. We call it passive. So the difference is active talent are the ones who are actively looking for jobs, and the other way around are the passive. So there's one big shift happening there. The second big shift I could think about is positioning as an employer to
Right.
changing the narrative and positioning as a career investor, right? Helping helping people to build their careers, right? The third shift is about and recruiter being a key actor to this journey, about how recruiter today get repositioned from being a marketeer or recruiter to a career consultant, right? It also helps in a long-term relationship. That's the third. The fourth one, of course, is on the data and the insights. How do we shift from recruiter or a marketeer to career consultant? That's one shift
Right.
which we have been saying.
Yeah.
Data to insights. So traditional reporting, tracking, visualization to how do we leverage insights, analytics in the recruiting
Right.
function. So these are some of the shifts. Along with that, a shift from positioning or repositioning interviews to learning opportunities for candidates. These are some of the shifts
Right.
which I believe are happening beyond technology interventions.
Right. Mohit, you mentioned some interesting points, and active, passive talent. You spoke of most preferred employees to career investor. I would want to, move in that direction and speak about how organizations and companies till today have focused on being the employer of choice. They've offered great perks. They've offered, the strongest of employer branding, greatest of cultures, which we feel is no longer enough. There is so much more that needs to happen. The most forward thinking organizations these days are evolving beyond just being, great places to work. They're positioning themselves as true career investors. If you could help us, understand what does it mean to invest in a candidate's career? Why is it important? And how employers can be truly invested in the long term success of their talent.
Yeah. So, look, this shift we are largely seeing in the early talent space more than the experience and the leadership hiring.
Hmm.
If you go back maybe 15, 20 years behind, even in remote locations and smaller places in India, we used to know about, the Infosys, TCS, Wipros of the world because they literally used to touch lives of people, right? They used to
Right.
impact positively community of India. Exactly
Hmm.
is what the basic we need to apply now is to look at how, as an employer, we're not just reaching out to the talent and attract them toward career opportunities with us, but investing and contributing to individuals' career growth, right? Or
Right.
even it is a matter about helping a student who is actually graduating from a college and guiding the person on how he or she should decide about the career, what he or she should do, and so on and so forth. So there are enough opportunities for employers today to make a shift from looking at here's what we have to offer and join us to
Hmm.
we don't really look at whether you're going to join us or not, but let us invest on your career today, right?
Right.
And some of the ways I could think about this could be done is as simple as putting up a learning e-module on internet which could be
Hmm.
accessible by students go through it, learn and prepare for campus recruitment. Or it could be about having a learning platform, which is where we have e-modules built, which are aligned to some of the advanced skills or where the demand is high. It could be on data security, it could be on overall cyber security, software engineering space, data engineering space, and so on and so forth, and allows talent to go explore, learn, and do it right. If you actually make
Right.
that impact today, there's a higher probability of the same individual who you have positively impacted 3 years, 5 years down the line, look at an opportunity back at you, right? So it's just about
Hmm.
that key shift from being an employer to being a career investor.
Right. Right. And you spoke of another interesting thing, move from active to passive talent engagement. Could we also speak about that? What does active talent and passive talent mean in the recruitment world? And why is passive talent becoming so much more important than before?
So on active and passive, active talent are the ones who are actively looking out for job opportunities. Passive the other way around, people who are in their jobs and not actively exploring opportunities.
Right, right.
There is a need and a shift from so the traditionally, if you look at it, we advertise vacancies, people
Hmm.
apply, we
And get
engage
the job.
with the ones who apply,
Yeah.
and we hire the best.
Right.
The fact is, what we believe as the best hire is actually the best of the ones who applied. The real talent could be sitting in that passive talent pool whom we have not yet reached out or the person has not
Right.
reached out. So what do we do, right? So we actually put in efforts towards engaging with the wider talent pool, create awareness about our organization, about the good stuff we do, plan to do, etc. Create learning opportunities for them, help to build
Hmm.
communities, and then attract them towards career opportunity and hire, right?
Right.
So that's one key shift. And one of the ways to make the shift is a structural change of splitting the recruiting function into two parts. One is on focus on talent community engagement, and the
Hmm.
second is on the acquisition of the talent, right?
Right.
Now, either organizations do have an opportunity to build this capability internally, or alternatively, there are players in the market who could actually come in and join hands with you as talent community
Hmm.
engagement partners, right?
Right.
So they take the lead of coming up with how to go about engaging with talents, running events, build communities, have landing page, and so on and so forth in a long term engagement. And as and when there are opportunities, you strike the conversations with the already ones who registered as part of the community, and you attract and hire. There are different formats by virtue of which you could engage the how part of it, which is quite common and has been there in the industry from few years now, is meetup. So
Hmm.
think about you have a requirement for which may surface in 3 months down the line, which is on some advanced skills.
Mm.
You start engaging with relevant talent pool. You have a topic, you bring 25, 30 people in an informal setup, have a
Right.
speaker, engage with them, talk about the conversations. It should be far more engaging conversation and not position it as a recruiting event. Position it as a
Right.
learning opportunity, right? And that's why if you keep doing a meetup events, you build communities. We have seen organizations who have built massive communities just by virtue of meetup as a format. Beyond meetups,
Okay.
ask
Yeah.
me anything sessions. You could bring a CIO for a conversation and open discussions with a bunch of engineers, or it could be about repositioning hackathon, codathon, which get perceived as competition to organizing code jams.
Right.
Code jams is being perceived more positively compared to hackathon because code jams are more about jamming together to solve a problem and learn from each
Yeah.
other, right? So,
Correct.
like
Correct.
this, there are multiple formats in the industry which could be leveraged to engage with the wider talent pool and build communities, right?
Right.
So in the West, we often hear about brown bag sessions, which is about a bunch of
Right.
people just coming together for a conversations over lunch, chit chat,
Yeah.
get to learn a new topic, and something similar to that, right? But I think the genesis of this should be is not about hiring. It's all about
Mm.
creating that awareness. That too subtly is more about creating those learning opportunities for individuals, orchestrating that community and people to come together on
Mm.
on advanced topics and so on and so forth. But and
Right.
there are multiple advantages to it. Clearly, the new approach delivers far more efficiency in
Mm.
terms of speed, in terms
Yeah.
of quality of hire, and in terms of cost. So it's of course cheaper, faster, and better, right?
Okay. Yeah. Also, Mohit, you spoke of how prepared organizations need to be, in the run for gaining to retain or to have more talented people in the team. Are there any different, successful passive engagement strategies that recruiters employ, or you feel should be something in their kitty? They should have the knowledge for these strategies, and that might be the game changer for them.
Yeah. So one of the structural changes talent acquisition function could look at is to split the talent acquisition team into two parts.
Mm.
One is the team
Okay.
which is purely about talent community engagement, which means engage, build communities, keep them warm. And there's a second
Right.
team which is about acquiring talent. So that's one key structural change. Now, the former part we spoke about is talent community engagement. There are
Right.
specialized players in the market who actually can come and play the role of community engagement partners. By
Mm.
virtue of that, they create landing page, they design programs, they curate talent, and run events to engage with them. And some of the formats which
Mm.
have been there in the industry for a long time, as simple as running a meetup event. So you have a topic, you bring in 25, 30 people who are interested to hear about a topic, and you engage in a little informal setup, deliver some of the key messages, talk about the core subject, make it more engaging, and thereby you kind of start contributing and building that community, right? So
Right.
meetup is one. It could be ask me anything session. It could
Mm.
be hackathon. It could be code jam. In fact, code jam is a very successful event wherein you're not positioning it as a competition. You're positioning as a learning opportunity. So people come
Mm.
together. There's somebody who's actually start solving a problem and people jam together to solve a problem. There's enough learning opportunity out of it. So there are formats
Mm.
available today by virtue of which we could look at engaging with that passive talent as well.
Which is the evolving role of recruiters, especially the kind of changes we're seeing. We're seeing the technological changes happening right in front of us. Second is this change from a recruiter to a career consultant, from simply filling a role to acting as a trusted career consultant. How do you see this changing, and what are the implications, of this change, especially within the recruiter community?
So one is this again going back to the basics, right? The fundamentals of recruitment. Uh, Recruiters should be positioned as someone who really work towards engaging with talent to understand his or her career aspirations. Where does the person today? What's the ambition, the aspiration of the person, and then provide that advice for the individual to move from the current state to the desired state, right?
Right.
Uh, Unfortunately, in many of the organizations, to the recruitment conversation with candidates is largely driven by a role or career opportunity. Right? We speak about here's the role for we have to offer, and description about the role, what we're looking for, etc. I think there's a need to shift that conversation. The narrative should be more about hearing the individual about what are you doing today, what is something you wish to do, where you want to reach, and how then
Right.
we could help you to reach your career aspirations, right? So that shift is what I'm been speaking about is um and look in the industry, we also have heard about recruiter playing the role of a marketeer. To my mind, more than marketer, we should position ourselves as consultant, because marketer is where you have a solution, you have a product, you have something to offer. What I'm talking about, a level above that, is where you actually understand the individual's requirements, need, aspirations, and then you customize your solutions, customize your narrative. An individual may not be interested to look at an opportunity today, but if you have that conversation and position as a consultant, there is a higher probability that you kind of build that, you kind of investing on building a long-term relationship. And tomorrow there's a possibility that person may be interested to look at an opportunity and call you back saying, hey, you know what, you reached out, you gave some amazing advice to me, I'm doing well, but I was thinking to take your help to find something better for me, right? So
Right.
that way it works pretty well. So I think one of the things that the organization should do is to really put in efforts towards creating those learning opportunities for recruiters. And nothing can
Right.
beat than lead by example. So my recommendation is leaders to have those conversations with candidates where others can observe, learn from that, and see how this could actually help in a long-term relationship, right? Um,
Right.
I can't think of better than actually providing that learning opportunity. But one of the important aspects I've realized is leaders speak a lot about what to be done and how to be done, and less about the why it is required. I think there's shift
Right.
to focus more about why you should do this and how this is going to help you, rather than just about what is required from you.
What?
So more you focus on why with examples, lead by examples, have those success stories, share those success stories. I think it gives fair visibility to recruiters to look up to those leaders, learn, and then practice it.
I want to come to the assessment of learning opportunity. We spoke of how recruiters can turn into career consultant and the amount of investment that needs to go into it. How can they move away from just evaluation, to understanding or assessing a candidate's potential to learn and grow? Do you see merit here? Do you see there is potential here in this opportunity?
Yeah, so that's another shift which we have been seeing. It is also to do with the lookout of candidates is evolving. Uh,
Right.
Sometimes it's an employer driven market, sometimes a candidate driven market, but we have realized that so long a candidate gets into an assessment and have some takeaways and some learnings out
Right.
of it, they always perceive it positively, which essentially means that employers have to do is to really, or the talent action teams have to do is to really revamp their interview process
Right.
and create it more as a learning opportunity, a learning platform for candidates, right? Like we spoke about, shift from a codeathon or hackathon to a code jam. We're doing the same thing. It's just about repositioning it, repositioning from a competition which allows us to hire the best to actually creating a learning opportunity by virtue of a code jam, right?
Right.
Um, there is a significant opportunity for talent acquisition team to create those learning opportunities for candidate. By virtue of it, even if you decide as an employer that the person doesn't fit the role, there is a good experience a candidate would go through, and that experience could help him or her to then influence the rest of the talent pool as well. I see a lot of merit in actually making that shift.
How do you see opportunities changing now because we are focusing more on skills and less on experience?
Yeah. So look, it's an interesting question. A learning opportunity, or enabling learning for an individual has a direct
Right.
impact on an experience of the individual towards the process, right?
Right.
Um, now, and there are various ways you could do that, right? It goes hand in hand, right? So if you focus only on the experience and without and ignoring the learning part of it, it doesn't go well. So an example could be, most of the organizations do have learning platforms. They do have tie-up with some of the learning solutions.
Right. Right.
Put up some of those learning e-modules up on internet
Hmm.
and let people register, go through those content, go through a series of assessment, and there's always a takeaway for candidates in terms of learning. It could also be about
Right.
providing certifications. What is in it for an employer is to then basis the scores, you can always reach out to the set of high performers for career opportunities, right?
Hmm.
So it is actually going for both the parties, for employer to find the right talent they should really scout for, and also for a candidate is to go through the learnings, have some takeaways, and progress further, right? Uh,
Right.
Anything which you do today which actually creates a positive impact and touching lives of humans certainly yields to high experience. So when we look at
Hmm.
experience as a theme and design a
Hmm.
solution, always keep
Right.
that human element at the center of it. So anything which you do today, which actually leads to a positive experience for an
Right.
individual, helps in a long run.
Do you think in organizations understand the merit of sending talent with something in their hand?
No, absolutely. So, look, to your question, does the industry realize the importance of this? Partially, yes. We are still at an early stage of maturity curve. There is still a lot to practice, and still there's a long way to go. Uh,
Right.
we have been taking baby steps towards, but I certainly see in the future where the entire interview format is
Right.
going to change. It's going to be more about sitting together, or having an approach by virtue of which the person who's getting assessed is actually going back with certain learnings out of it,
Hmm.
right? And for the assessor, it's more about also it's about having very fair, open conversations to say, here's what ABCD we are looking for. You do have
Right.
D and C, you may be missing on D, but here's the way you could possibly progress on D. Here's a learning e-module available on internet. You might like to register, go through it, maybe 6 months down
Sure.
the line. We
Yeah.
reevaluate, right? I think we are moving into that direction, but still there's a long way to go.
Right. Sure. Mohit, let's also talk about how data is being used in talent acquisition. What is it that's been changing? What is it that is going to decide the future of talent acquisition in India, especially India?
Yeah. So if you look at a data maturity curve, right, from
Right.
having absolutely unstructured data to a structured data to reporting and dashboarding, most of the organizations graduated from the start point on having no data to at least having some
Right.
data which makes sense. But we are still largely sitting at the junction of using that data to track. I mean, we track and we report out. The
Right.
next phase of that is analytics. The next phase of that is really drawing useful insights to take better decisions. And maybe
Hmm.
I can give a couple of examples to that, right?
Sure.
It's about correlation of a performance of individuals and the organization type from where they came from, right?
Hmm.
So you take a sample and do the correlation, you get some interesting insights. So say, here are the ABC organizations where we have seen far better performance scores of people compared
Hmm.
to the other organizations, and then that becomes a useful insight for talent acquisition to drive their efforts towards
Hmm.
attracting, engaging talent from those specific organizations, right? Another example could be when we go to the campuses, the mindset is always about to look at computer science, IT, electrical, electronics when we
Hmm.
hire people for software engineering roles. But if you do a
Right.
correlation between the performance of software engineers and their pedigree, we may
Hmm.
have an interesting observation to say, hey, you know what, let's say chemical engineer could actually become a strong programmer. But that can
Right.
happen only when we put in our efforts towards doing those correlations, right? So
Hmm.
I'm talking about, descriptive, prescriptive, predictive. The analytics also has moved up the ladder, right? So
Hmm.
there's enough opportunity for us to now start leveraging the data, not just to from a reporting dashboarding standpoint, the visualization standpoint, but go
Hmm.
deeper into to get some useful insights for us to be far more efficient, right? And again, it is not only about delivering efficiency; it's also about enhancing experience. Maybe
Hmm.
another example. We spend time and efforts to understand reasons for people not joining.
Hmm.
Okay. But if you actually flip this and spend time efforts to track, capture data about why somebody joined, reasons
Right.
for joining, and study that data could help us with a lot of useful insights, which could then be embedded as part of the go to market strategy, right? I mean, when you
Right.
go and track talent, you should know what are the reasons why people look at opportunity with you and not about why people don't join me, right? So how do you really shift it? That shift can happen only when you start leveraging
Hmm.
that insights.
Right. You spoke of, shifting that mindset of, focusing on positive motivations. Do you feel, things like company culture, career growth, values alignment, or work life balance, all of this adds up to people joining, or there are certain other motivations?
So look, EVP is no more static anymore. We have heard about this in multiple forums, spoken about it. It's ever evolving and it's
Hmm.
extremely dynamic now, especially post
Right.
COVID. Today, the lookout could be ABC. Tomorrow, it could actually change to BCD, right? So it's changing every time. But largely, what we have seen is if you keep EVP aside, and it also depends on the segment of talent. So for an early talent, the lookout could differ compared to somebody at a middle level to a leadership level. Everybody has a different lookout. Then you have
Right.
to have an EVP which is built in a way that it actually suffices the requirements for each of the talent category of, right.
Right.
But if we keep this aside, what's been constant is the purpose defined.
Hmm.
Number one. Number two is a sense of pride and a sense of clarity, learning opportunity, flexibility, rewards, compensation. I think these remain to be constant factors with the evolving um,
Hmm.
the market situation. And this has not changed much, right?
Okay.
What possibly could have changed over a period of time is individuals' aspiration to look for an opportunity having locally versus globally, right? I mean, that
Hmm.
possibly is changing. Flexibility again is changing a bit, but learning, reward, compensation, impact, purpose, that's been the
Hmm.
constant. So that is not changing, right?
Mohit, thank you for your insights. But before we wrap up, what do you have to say to the budding TA professionals who are determined to stay not just relevant, but also ahead of the curve in this rapidly evolving landscape?
Yeah. So if I take a liberty of advising the budding TA professionals, my advice to them would be to stick to fundamentals. Of
Right.
course, they have to leverage latest technology advancements to improve the way we attract, recruit, onboard
Mm.
talent. Um, However, design recruitment strategy which actually creates a positive impact and touches lives of people positively. I think the fundamentals should not shift, right?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the key messages I want to leave the audience with.
Thank you, Mohit. Thank you for inaugurating the Hired by I Am Jobs podcast with your thoughts, with your perspectives, and your wisdom and your insights. They definitely have set an exceptional standard for our series. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Akansha.
And to our listeners, this marks just the beginning of our journey into the world of talent acquisition. We are committed to bringing you the voices of the leaders who are redefining what's possible in recruitment and what talent development could be. Be sure to subscribe, share, and like our channel where we'll continue to talk about strategies that are shaping the future of hiring.